Karoline Leavitt walked down the busy streets of New York City, her heels clicking against the pavement as she admired the dazzling display windows of designer stores. She wasn't one to indulge in luxury shopping often, but today was different. She had an important event coming up, and she wanted to find the perfect dress, something elegant, timeless, and powerful. Spotting a high-end boutique on Fifth Avenue, Karoline stepped inside. The scent of expensive perfume filled the air, and soft classical music played in the background. Every inch of the store screamed exclusivity, from the marble floors to the velvet-covered seats where the city's elite sat sipping champagne while being catered to by personal stylists. As Karoline wandered through the store, admiring the delicate fabrics and intricate designs, she caught the disapproving glance of a well-dressed woman standing behind the glass counter. The woman, identified by her name tag as Vivian, was the boutique's manager. Vivian's perfectly arched eyebrow lifted as she scrutinized Karoline from head to toe. With her professional yet modest attire, a tailored navy blue blazer over a simple blouse, and fitted slacks, Karoline certainly didn't look like the boutique's typical clientele. With a tight-lipped smile, Vivian approached. "Can I help you?" she asked, her tone dripping with insincerity. Karoline smiled politely. "Yes, actually. I'm looking for an evening gown, something classic and sophisticated." Vivian let out a soft, almost imperceptible sigh. "Well, our pieces are quite exclusive," she said, emphasizing the last word. "Perhaps you'd be more comfortable at a department store?" Karoline's smile faltered slightly, but she kept her composure. "I appreciate the suggestion, but I'd still like to take a look." Vivian's eyes narrowed as she crossed her arms. "I don't think that's necessary. We cater to a very high-end clientele. Our dresses start at 5 figures, and I don't want to waste your time, or ours." The words stung not because of their meaning, but because of the sheer arrogance behind them. Karoline was used to bias in politics, but to be dismissed in a clothing store simply based on an assumption, that was new. She straightened her posture, standing her ground. "I assure you, I can afford whatever is in this store." Vivian let out a small, amused laugh. "Oh, I'm sure." Her voice was laced with condescension. Then, in a voice loud enough for the other customers to hear, she called over a security guard. "Please escort this woman out." Gasps rippled through the boutique. Karoline's eyes widened in disbelief. "Excuse me?" she asked, her voice steady. Vivian smirked. "We reserve the right to refuse service. You don't belong here." The security guard, a tall man with an apologetic look on his face, hesitated. "Ma'am, I'm going to have to ask you to leave." Karoline took a deep breath, suppressing the frustration bubbling inside her. She wasn't about to make a scene, but she also wasn't going to let this moment go unnoticed. She turned to Vivian, her expression calm, but unwavering. "You're making a big mistake." Vivian crossed her arms and tilted her chin up smugly. "I highly doubt that." With that, Karoline gave the security guard a small nod, signaling that she would comply. As she walked toward the door, the eyes of every customer in the store followed her. Some whispered, others looked uncomfortable. As Karoline stepped onto the sidewalk, a slow smile spread across her face. She knew something Vivian didn't. This wasn't over. A few days later, the luxury boutique was buzzing with excitement. Whispers spread among employees and customers alike, as a convoy of sleek black SUVs pulled up to the storefront. Vivian, standing near the front counter, narrowed her eyes as she watched a small group of well-dressed individuals step out. The way the boutique's staff suddenly straightened their postures and adjusted their name tags told her that someone important had arrived. Then she saw her, Karoline Leavitt. But this time she wasn't alone. Karoline walked in with the grace of someone who belonged because she did. She was flanked by a few high-profile figures, including the boutique's corporate regional director and a well-known fashion investor who had a stake in the brand. The moment they entered, the boutique's employees scrambled to offer them their best service, their smiles wide and eager. Vivienne's stomach twisted. Caroline's gaze swept across the store before finally landing on Vivienne. The boutique manager's once arrogant expression faltered, replaced with something dangerously close to panic. "Oh, Miss Leavitt," she said, her voice suddenly lacking the smug confidence it had before. Karoline took a slow step forward, her heels clicking against the polished marble floor. "You seemed pretty certain the other day that I didn't belong here," she said, her voice light but firm. "Care to explain why?" Vivienne swallowed hard. The employees around her had gone silent, their eyes darting between the two women. The corporate director, a sharply dressed woman with an air of authority, cleared her throat. "Miss Leavitt is an esteemed guest of our brand. We value all of our customers, especially those who contribute to our company's success." Vivienne felt the blood drain from her face. Karoline tilted her head slightly. "So, does that mean I can shop here today?" she asked, her lips curling into the faintest smile. Vivienne forced a tight nod. "Of course." But Karoline wasn't finished yet. The boutique was dead silent. Employees, customers, and even the security guard from the other day were watching, waiting to see what Karoline would do next. Vivienne forced a tight smile, her hands clasped together to keep them from trembling. I truly apologize for the misunderstanding, Miss Leavitt. It was never my intention to make you feel unwelcome." Karoline tilted her head slightly, her eyes sharp. "A misunderstanding?" she repeated. "No, I think you made yourself pretty clear." The boutique manager swallowed hard. The regional director stepped forward, her tone polite but firm. "Miss Leavitt, on behalf of our brand, I want to personally apologize for the way you were treated. This is not how we do business, and it certainly does not reflect our values." Karoline looked around the store, then back at Vivienne. "That's interesting," she said, her voice calm but piercing, "because from where I was standing the other day, it sure seemed like she thought she was the one who made the rules." Vivienne's face burned. The corporate director let out a short breath and turned to the employees. "Effective immediately. Miss Vivienne is no longer employed here." A stunned silence filled the room. Vivienne gasped, her head snapping toward her boss. "Wait, what?" The regional director's expression was cold. "Our customers are the heart of this company. If you can't recognize that, then you don't belong here." Vivienne opened her mouth to argue, but no words came out. She had humiliated Karoline in front of an entire store, without knowing who she really was. Now, she was the one being humiliated. Security appeared beside her. "Ma'am, I'm going to have to ask you to leave." Vivienne turned back to Karoline, as if hoping for mercy. But Karoline only arched an eyebrow, as if silently asking, "How does it feel?" With no other choice, Vivienne grabbed her purse and stormed out, her heels clicking angrily against the floor. As the door closed behind Vivienne, a slow murmur spread through the store. Some employees exchanged knowing glances, while a few customers whispered to one another. The tension that had once gripped the boutique had vanished, replaced by an air of quiet satisfaction. The regional director turned back to Karoline, her posture professional, but warm. "Miss Leavitt, I can't express how deeply sorry we are. Please, allow me to personally assist you today. Anything you need, consider it taken care of." Karoline took a slow breath, then offered a small smile. "That's very kind of you, but I didn't come back here for free things or special treatment." The director nodded. "Of course. We just want to make this right." Karoline glanced around the boutique. The same employees who had avoided eye contact with her last time now looked at her with something close to admiration. Even the security guard, who had been forced to escort her out before, gave her an apologetic nod. "If you really want to make it right," Karoline said, "make sure this doesn't happen to anyone else." The director's expression softened. "I promise you, we will." Karoline nodded, then casually strolled over to a nearby display. She ran her fingers over the fabric of a designer coat, inspecting it thoughtfully. This time, no one hovered over her. No one watched her suspiciously, and no one treated her as if she didn't belong. A sales associate hesitated before stepping forward. "Miss Leavitt, may I help you find anything?" Karoline looked up, a knowing smile on her lips. Actually, yes. Let's see if you really have the best customer service in town. A few employees chuckled nervously, but the atmosphere had completely shifted. The once hostile boutique was now filled with respectful, attentive staff, eager to make a better impression. As Karoline selected a few items, a woman nearby whispered to her friend, "Can you believe it? I would have never guessed she was someone important." Her friend shook her head. "I don't think it's about being important. I think it's about treating everyone with respect, because you never know who you're talking to." Karoline smirked to herself, pretending not to hear. As she finalized her purchase, the regional director walked her to the door personally. "Again, Miss Leavitt, we truly appreciate the chance to make this right." Karoline adjusted the shopping bag in her hand and met the woman's gaze. "I hope you mean that, because respect isn't just for people who can make a scene, it's for everyone." With that, she stepped outside, the warm sunlight hitting her face as she walked down the busy street. Inside the boutique, the employees stood a little straighter, their attitudes noticeably different. A lesson had been learned that day, one they wouldn't soon forget. And as for Vivienne, well, she'd have plenty of time to reflect on her mistakes, somewhere else. Karoline Leavitt didn't just prove a point, she taught a lesson in humility and respect. This just goes to show that you should never judge someone based on appearances, because you never know who you're dealing with. What did you think about how this all played out? Let me know in the comments. And if you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you never miss another inspiring story like this one. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.